Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Should we wait for other people or can we start?
I think we can start.
Okay, so then we can start with the 5G update from the week.
Hi, Shubham. I missed that. What's the agenda today?
So you can check that on our wiki. So we are starting with the updates, starting with the 5G updates. So you can take it up or you guys can take it up.
Okay, okay. I'll share my screen. I can share the 5G part.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so we will. This is 5G essay update. So I know we've been working. Everybody's involved in 1.8 branch discussion, and we have having a lot of discussion. So they're having an issue with the stability, right? And because of stability, there are some delays, but overall we are still continuing with the feature which are ready for release, feature which are still under testing. We are testing in a private branch, private build, and is continuing in that sense, right? But at the same time, the blocker of branch creation is still there. This is the hardening of the 5G SA feature is ongoing for the team. And if you see, there are like around 5 Gen have tasks got closed. There are a couple of scale testing issue got resolved, and there are issue related to different combination of DNN related to AMF, and there's a regression issue related to GNV restart in the multiple times, and there is some configuration issue related to AMF. Those has been resolved, and at the same time, there are a couple of PEs got merged related to the mismatch of PLM and the logging improvements. Right. So, and this will continue, I think, as we are progressing. This is the pending issue which we are still testing, right? So this is update related to those issues. Network initiators session modification 5G QSB had one PR which we were waiting for long to be merged, and then we were holding on for various reasons, right? Stability of the branch, CA test broken. But now we have discussed with the the leadership, and we have decided we will be testing in private build, and Wavelabs TSC leadership will be taking it forward, and we will do the merge with the IPv6 and dual IPv4 IPv6 area. There was one issue with the 5G code. Again, it is it is resolved, and we will rate PR today, and then we will go ahead and merge it. GTP extension support issue, again we have that one PR which was lingering for a while, and the decision is same here. We will go and test in private build and do the merge. Next area, regression and scale testing. So it's ongoing. Issues we are finding, we are fixing, and there is still one pending issue, and which will we will go ahead and merge today, later to IMSI deconcealing. 1.8 release, I think there are separate meetings happening, and it's a constant ongoing discussion, and there are a lot of meeting with the DevOps team here. So the stability issue, there's some improvement there, but the branch is still not created. And Magma Wavelab 5G CI is broken, and it has to be fixed before we can create the branch. And Yogesh and the team is working with the DevOps team here, with the community. Same thing with this issue with, I think, security team. The security issue related to Amazon is also kind of tied up with the related to creating the brand. So I just mentioned there, right? And their regular meeting with TSC, the link is there for any further updates. This is very much from the 5G SA side today. Any questions? All right, Shubham, this is very much we have. If anything need to discuss, we can discuss.
Okay, this is great, Daljit. Okay, so next we have DevOps updates, starting with Niels and Jan.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Let me quickly share my screen, just so you see what I'm talking about. So the last couple of days, weeks, we had looking into the state of the CI. So the AGW build, the last runs were successful, but actually what Yogesh realized today, the Magma Debian package that is created there is damaged. It has runtime problems. We are currently looking into it, what the issue is there. About the LTE integration tests, they are generally green, but they are really, really flaky. And the flakiness, one big reason for this is rate limiting by the Vagrant cloud. And maybe Jan, you can talk about the mitigation there.
Recently in the recent days, we've seen a lot of HTTP 429 errors, which means rate limiting. And so we looked into a mitigation for that. And now we're doing something relatively simple. Is basically we are caching this vagrant.d/boxes folder where Vagrant will store the downloaded boxes. And this works so far. So we've seen that, the results look good. And it's, of course, a relatively primitive solution. So one drawback, of course, is so all the images together, they are something around 8 gigabytes. And the total amount of cache that we can store in GitHub Actions is 10 gigabytes. So we're close to that limit. And also, once in the future we update the images more regularly, this will also work less well, but then we will think about something better. For now, it's nice to see that this 429 issues are resolved.
Yeah, as an additional small disclaimer there, we don't expect that the LTE integration test and CWF integration test become immediately green by this mitigation, but hopefully the flaky test will be more visible by that. That's it.
Okay, great. Thanks. So next, for the DevOps side, Tim is actually working on building the Docker image that will work for both ARM and x86. So we are testing it right now with our GitHub Action CI. And I'm also working on the AMI build for AWS. We are similarly testing with GitHub Actions. We are just facing some SSH issues while we are able to create the instance for the AMI build, but SSH is not happening. So we may have to like update private key and public keys. So that's what we are trying to fix. Maybe this week it will be fixed and we have new AMIs ready to use. Yeah, that's it. Any question for all the DevOps update? Okay, then moving on, we have release updates. Daljit, would you like to take it up?
1.8 update.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, sorry, I missed you.
See the 1.8 update I did in my my presentation, right? That's very much I have. I know there are a lot of detailed discussion by DevOps team.
Okay.
If they have updated, they can share.
Okay, yeah. So those were the updates which I mentioned. Then I think we can move on to the Bazel updates next.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Then the part of Magma where we are actually working on beneath supporting NCI. So what did we work on in the last couple of days, or at least things we can quickly show and tell? And Christian will start with the notifications that were added.
Hi everyone, just a quick update for the Bazel CI. From now on, our Bazel-related workflows will report failures or master to the Bazel CI Slack channel. And with this, we can wrap quickly. And this was the last blocker for the Bazel YAML workflow to become required. And this was already approved. Are there any questions? Then we can go forward.
Thank you, Christian. Next one is Jan with a sneak peek for the Baselified LTE integration tests.
Yeah, so we've been building an LTE integration test, but with this time with the binaries not built with Make, but with Bazel, so that we can be more confident that they behave all right. And the first thing that we saw is that building the binaries in the VM in the integration test was extremely slow, and we've been looking into why that was the case, and eventually found that the culprit here is Fabric, which is a Python library that we use to interact with VMs via SSH. And it seems that Fabric is doing some processing of the output of the SSH session, and this seems to be quite CPU heavy and slow. And so we were trying different things like reducing the amount of output, because Bazel is producing a lot of output when it's building. So we looked into reducing that, and at the same time we looked, okay, how fast would that be if we don't use Fabric but just directly use shell commands to connect by SSH. And so this shell command part is done, and compared to the regular intake test, which takes 4.5 hours, this intake test now takes 3.5 hours. So this looks quite good. And I think we can attribute sort of a 20-minute speed up to the Bazel build, which is faster than Make build when we use remote caches, and maybe roughly around 40 minutes to not using Fabric, which is slower when you have a lot of logs. And now we're looking into this and deciding how to go forward.
Any questions? And then for the last part, I want to present a very nice feature that is added by Bazel. So Bazel does a lot more, creates a lot more profiling data during runs compared with Make. So what we are using now is we are exporting the Bazel build profile data that can be downloaded for the Bazel jobs. I downloaded here this profile data, and this is actually usable in Chrome. So in Chrome tracing, which is an inbuilt tool in this browser. And this profile data can be dragged and dropped here. And what you get here additionally with the Bazel builds is a lot of statistics about the CPU usage of the job, memory usage, detailed analysis, which build steps we're running. And this helps a lot for analyzing build issues, performance issues, and actually was very helpful when, for example, Jan and Lars were debugging the slow integration test with Bazel. Yeah. So that's it about the Bazel upgrade or Bazel state. Are there any questions? Then thanks for listening, and we can go to the next topic.
Okay, so the next topic is documentation from Guillaume.
Yeah, sure. So actually, I have two topics. So one is an update from Canonical, but the first one actually is about documentation. And it's more of a question to you and the rest of the community. But ultimately, I wanted to know if people here would be interested in having a documentation workshop. I was looking, taking some time to look at the documentation of Magma. And from my feedback and the feedback I got from other beginners that are looking at the project, it feels like documentation, public-facing documentation, could be better, better structured. And here I want to propose a documentation workshop. It would be free, and I just want to know if people would be interested. We do have somebody inside of the company that's his role is documentation director, and he proposed to give this workshop, and I wanted to know if that's something that would be of interest to the community.
So what will happen in the workshop? So will they tell us, okay, how documentation should happen or something like that?
Yeah, so the workshop would be about presenting a framework for building documentation. We can take examples from Magma, but it's ultimately about coaching on how to properly structure documentation, where things should live, logical structure and documentation.
Yeah, so this can be, sorry, go ahead, please.
Okay, just quickly, do you have the name of the framework?
Yeah, it's called Diataxis. I can just send you a link here.
Thanks, great.
That's what we've been starting to use internally, but it's has nothing to do with Canonical. It's independent. So it's called Diataxis. And ultimately the framework, well, if you can the website, the idea is to separate documentation based on two axes. So whether it is practical or theoretical knowledge, and also whether it serves a study or and work. And that drives whether a piece of documentation is a how-to guide, is reference. It also helps in unbundling. Sometimes you have a piece of information that contains it's an how-to guide, but there's lots of explanation. So it can help you unbundle and make a how-to guide that's really straightforward to the point, and remove the explanation to a different place. So ultimately, it's about structuring documentation in a logical sense. If you want, I can create a survey inside the community, and we'll see if there is, I don't want to force that on people at all. Just that if people are interested, and if there's and I don't know if people agree with me about the state of documentation. I don't know if it's just in my mind that it could be improved, but I have a strong feeling that it could be better. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Guillaume, a bit of history when Magma, Facebook started Magma, they used Dockersaurus because Dockersaurus was their own product. And I was not happy with the documentation. So I brought in, okay, read the docs. And I created a single page migration to read the docs. And they said we are doing Dockersaurus only. But yeah, I think if this is a better choice, yeah, we can definitely explore it. If this should be community driven, okay, that all the community, if wants to move to one framework to another, yeah, that can be good. So this survey which you have mentioned, that is a great idea. There is a docs channel in our Slack, so you can post it there.
I just want to add another piece of information here. DiaTaxis is not a software framework. It's not something that you it's a documentation framework, how things should look like from the user point of view. So you could use Docusaurus, or you could just use READMEs and follow this framework. It's not about like, it's not a software framework. It's more of a logical, like how to structure documents. It could be inside of a book.
Okay.
It's not about the tool that you use.
So this shows us the structure, how we should document all this.
Yes, it's about structure. Yeah, it's about documentation structure.
Okay.
Not
sounds
the tool
good, then,
that leads
yeah.
you to the structure.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, then definitely we can set up that workshop, and we can send the invite and add it to Magma calendar so everyone can join.
Yeah, and we can keep the same tools. We can keep Docusaurus. It's not about the tool, like I said. Yep. Okay, so I'll send a survey. If there's interest, I'll ask Daniele, who's our documentation expert, to set up the workshop. But I think it would be of great value. Yeah. So that's the first subject I wanted to speak about, documentation. The second subject is about an update from Canonical. There's continued progress to building integration with Vault for Magma Orchestrator. So to do this, we had to start from scratch. We didn't have any charm to deploy Vault on Kubernetes, so I wrote that in the past couple of weeks. Very beta, but it's working. And the idea is that you could just relate orchestrator components that require certs to Vault, and the steps that you would typically do when deploying orchestrator, you would no longer have to do to create certs. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I see Shubham, you have a question?
Yeah, are you talking about the HashiCorp Vault?
Yep, same
Okay.
Vault.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah, we use their Docker images here. So yeah, it's definitely the upstream HashiCorp Vault, same stuff. Yep. So yeah, it's not yet all the changes for that are not yet merged, but I still think it's interesting. They should be merged over the next couple of days. And my goal is to demo this as soon as I have something working. Another one, go ahead.
Yeah, so when you said Vault, is it like publicly exposed Vault, or like a private vault installed in that same cluster where orchestrator lives?
Yeah, right now it's the second thing that you're mentioning. The thing about Vault is that it can be both, but the use case that we've tested was the result is ultimately very much identical to generating your own self-signed certificates using the bash script. It's just now you don't have to ask the operator to run a bash script on their laptop before installing orchestrator. You can just install orchestrator. So yeah, it's going to be a Vault that's going to live inside of the same namespace as your orchestrator, and the services that require certificates would specify. Well, it's just certified for now, but it's going to specify what common name it needs it for, and then the Vault is going to answer with the actual certificate and the private key. Yeah.
But we have to set the Vault manually, like generating those keys, then publishing those keys, like Vault specific keys I'm talking about.
All the logic to spin up Vault is inside of the Vault charm. So you would have to just Juju deploy Vault and Juju relate Vault to orchestrator, and that's it. All the logic will be abstracted to the operator.
Yep.
So that's for Vault and TLS. Next, we are trying to upgrade our orchestrator charms to 1.7. We are having sequelize issues, which is Yazan from my team posted some questions, so he's looking at that, but ultimately that's preventing us from upgrading our charms to 1.7. And another thing that we started working on was building charms for access gateway to run on Kubernetes. And this was, so there's already Helm charts that Shubham pointed us to. I wasn't able to properly deploy Access Gateway, and this one was tested on GKE and Google Cloud. I just ran the Helm install of those charts with no success. So I don't know the state of this project, but it seems like it's not yet working. I don't know. So yeah, that's the update from us. So effort on building charms for Access Gateway, upgrading to 1.7 for Orchestrator, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Any question on what we're doing, what we're working on? No.
Maybe did you see why it was not working or what was not working when you
the one that so on the Access Gateway on Kubernetes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I posted a message on the community. I don't know if I have received any feedback. I don't think so. But ultimately, the error messages were around so the first pod that is deployed is called agwc config, and what was the error message? I think we were failing to mount something that was supposed to be mounted on etc Magma directory. But I can send you the log messages. I just don't know on top of my mind. But yeah. So I don't know if the nodes, and that's what I feel like is the problem. Are we supposed to be able to install Access Gateway on Kubernetes just running Helm install, or is there some effort to be done on the nodes themselves beforehand?
Yeah. Okay. So Guillaume, so let me tell you this. When we are building Access Gateway Docker images, we build them on specific 5.4 kernel. And when we have to run it, our Kubernetes cluster should be based on like that specific kernel only. So are you sure that when you ran it, which kernel version was used?
I'd have to check. I was using the default node images for GKE.
Yeah, so in that image, so was that a managed Kubernetes cluster or you installed the Kubernetes cluster? GKE is managed Kubernetes. Yeah, GKE is
I didn't install it from scratch. I just run
okay.
CLI command, but GKE install cluster, whatever.
Got it. So yeah, so those kernel versions, we are not sure. So we have to ask them, okay, like Google, whatever their kernel version they're using. Because this is our C++ deployment. In future, if we move to Golang, this issue will not be there. But yeah, for right now, only with the 5.4 kernel base, we will be able to run it for Docker or for Kubernetes. That's the issue.
Okay. Can you just point me to which kernel version or documentation about that? Or
yeah, it's not documented, but yeah, the Access Gateway team knows about it, that we are using that specific kernel because we have some obvious dependencies, and we also have to install some additional packages to get it working.
On the K8s node?
Yeah, on Docker node also, and then technically in K8 Kubernetes node also. Yes, but I have not tested that. But yeah, this was, I'm telling you because we had some kind of discussions around that. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. But I have not tested the Kubernetes version. I have tested the Docker version, and I know like these are the hard requirements that we have to fulfill.
So that means that you cannot just so somebody that has access to a K8s cluster that's not an admin of that cannot install Access Gateway on it. You cannot just do have your own namespace, do a kubectl, whatever, Helm install Access Gateway.
Yeah, you cannot do that because there are some hard requirements that we have to fulfill. Kernel is one, OVS is two, and maybe some others. So we have scripts for deploying this in Docker environment, but I'm not sure about the Kubernetes environment. They have not documented this as of today.
Okay, and is there any efforts for that?
I'm not sure. So first goal was to stabilize the Dockerized Access Gateway. That is not done at this moment. Once that is stable, then we move on to the Kubernetes version. The Helm chart, which you tried, that was just a first step when we were starting building that. But yeah, it's not stable.
Okay. Well, is the intent to have to be able to deploy access gateway on Kubernetes on like vanilla nodes, like without installing OVS underneath is what I mean,
Okay.
or installing.
So actually, I can tell you like how they were testing it. So let's say you have an Ubuntu host machine with 5.4 kernel. They build the Docker images, then they installed kind Kubernetes cluster because that's simply a Docker file. So it's using the same kernel. And on that kernel, we are using with kind Kubernetes cluster because it's using the same kernel. Then we install access gateway on top of that. So our kernel requirement is fulfilled.
Okay. All right. So I might ping you after, because I think I started this too early. It seems like
yeah. So it's not stable. We are just still testing it, and it is not like 100% time. It will not work. So let's see how it goes.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Any other question or comment about our work? No. All right. Thanks.
Okay, so we have some time. If anyone would like to bring something up, yeah, this is the time. Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.